Hey Ringside Crew. Welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. Well, I was supposed to have a guest tonight, but this has been happening lately. So wrestling has been going this way. We've been having a lot of fun. Guests have been coming and going, but people sometimes no show, but that's what happens in wrestling. There's always a plan and it always gets changed. But I'm the type of guy, I used to get upset about this, but I changed my ways. I know how to change it. I'm going to a show on Saturday. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to mention the name. But I'm going to go to their show. It's supposed to be a fun show. It's here in Pennsylvania. It's a big show for them. So it's going to be a fun show. I know there's going to be a ladder match. I can't wait to go to this show. So this is going to be a fun show. Thank you for the like. Hey, Joe, if you want to come join me, come hang out with me. My guest kind of scrapped on me. So if you want to send me, I could send you the link in the chat. You can come hang out with me for a little bit. If you want to come hang out, here's the link, people. If you want to join me, it's an open forum right now. Come hang out. Come join me. Come join Joe Panther III here on Dudes at Ringside. Because you never know who could come through the door. Just send you the link. Come hang out with the Panther. We'll be talking about pro wrestling at its best. Independent wrestling. You talk about Ghostbusters. We could talk about 80s, 90s. We talk about some old school WCW that I've been watching right now on Peacock. I've been watching Halloween Havoc. That stuff was crazy, man. Man, I miss stuff like that, man. We just saw WrestleMania. Like, man, wrestling is crazy right now with the new titles and the tag team titles. Like, let's talk about it. What do you all think about the new tag team titles? I personally love them. I love the tag team titles. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody says, oh, they look like the World Heavyweight title. Aren't you proud? We finally have new tag team titles. I love my red glasses, but I would hate to be wearing a belt that looks like my glasses. Like, I'd be like, Velma, my glasses, that's my belt I'm supposed to be wearing in the ring. But, like, it's insane to think that everybody hates the tag title. They just debuted. How do you hate them that much? They just came to life. You're, like, already mad about them? I hope the SmackDown tag team titles have a little more, like, oomph to them. Maybe they'll make them look like the late 2000s, like 2012, 2013, maybe like earlier than that. The tag team titles look like the Raw, like the WWF tag titles. Maybe they'll give them that look and put a blue in them. Hopefully they don't make them look like the Cody Rhodes title, make a big W, and then the tag team titles around it. Maybe give it a different look, a different touch. There's been a lot of things. Independent wrestling is popping right now. There's a lot of big shows, like one I'm going to on Saturday in Slatington, Pennsylvania, PBW Super Show. There's going to be a ladder match between Rembrandt and Andy Header. That, man, I was supposed to be working with them yesterday, but stuff came up, so I could not. So it's going to be a crazy match, and the match is for the PBW United States title and their No Limits title, which is kind of like their hardcore title. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that match and being there ringside. I'm usually ringside because that's where I like to be, ringside, this side of the ring. There's some other matches. There's a women's match between Danny Moe and a former guest of mine, Semi Chaos. She's another awesome wrestler. I've never seen her wrestle live, but I really, really enjoy her matches. And she's a former guest of mine. I really can't wait to meet her and give her a nice little sticker. Danny Moe, never been on the podcast, but I really I love all her stuff. She's a great wrestler. So awesome. Such a good person. Very sweet. Facade is in the main event. He's going for the PPW World Championship, triple threat match. So I like everyone in that match. They're really good. They're really good people. Um, there's a trios championship match, which is, no, if you don't know trios, tres señores, three people in one match. So that match right there is going to be a great match because it's three guys fighting for the three titles. Usually it's like two people fighting for a belt. Um, there's a lot of different matches. There's actually two women's matches on the card. So there's a women's championship match, and then there's a trios match, like triple threat match for the women's championship, which will be fighting with Sammy and Denny. There's what do you guys hope for SmackDown tomorrow? Do you think it's going to be different? Do you think they're going to add more stuff to the show? Um, I'm just hoping this should be a really good show on SmackDown tomorrow because Raw was really good because again they introduced the tag team titles. Um, well, I'm usually with somebody, but they couldn't make it or something happened. So wrestling's wrestling, and I'm not mad about this. So I just kept it going. And so, what do you guys think? Let's anybody have any ideas? What do you want to talk about tonight? Because I already know what I want to talk about. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about independent wrestling. Wherever you're from in the chat, comment. Like we could talk about your independent wrestling scene from your area, because Dudes at Ringside Podcast is internationally known, home of champions, and we love independent wrestling. Wrestling, as they said in ECW, wrestling, and they would say in Smash Masters Wrestling, that does like a lot of Scranton, Pennsylvania shows. Another good promotion that you guys definitely should check out. I went to their show last year at Voodoo Brewery, so it was a good thing. I really love this local wrestling scene. I've been in the state now for 16 years, and I've never seen so much awesome wrestling. I used to go to NYWC, and they were like the first people I ever really got a chance to check them out, and I loved it. So I'm gonna continue forever going to independent wrestling shows. But what do you guys think? Do you think we're gonna get a nice tag team title on SmackDown? And also, I'm hearing rumors that they're trying to bring back the European Championship, which that makes me happy. Hey, what's going on, Johnny? Johnny, if you want to join me, the link's right there for the StreamYard room. Come on in. We can talk, man. I'm really happy that that we have a new world heavyweight champion. All rise. He is. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm half Puerto Rican. That is so awesome. Johnny, take the link. Come into this room. Hang out, dude. We can talk about this. Let's go. I want to talk. I'm in the mood to talk. Have someone with me. Let's click the link. Grab the link. Do something with the link. Come on. We'll talk about this. Let's talk about wrestling, man. Wrestling is wrestling right now. Let's get a little round table, man. Get your boys. I'll get me and my Panther self. So let's talk. Let's talk about wrestling. I'm really happy to that he won the world heavyweight title, but it was hilarious how he won it. It wasn't like he won the full match. He came in and cashed in the money in the bank. I personally would have waited till Raw. I would have had Triple H wait till Raw to do this. But it's WrestleMania. You want to have a big moment like the Seth Rollins things at the end of the WrestleMania that was in San Francisco. So you want to have people have a memory of the WrestleMania they're at. I wish that someone would have had a Money in the Bank cash in WrestleMania 35 and MetLife, but we didn't get that. But yeah, Johnny, definitely come on in, dude. Join me. Just hang out. I need some friends. I got no friends. I need some pity. I need some battle love. Come hang out with me. My glasses are wet. I'm so tired. Yeah, I'm very happy that my Boricua brother, he won the world heavyweight title. First Puerto Rican to win the world heavyweight title in 50 years. Man, that was fantastic. I was watching it going, okay, why is Punk? Well, I knew Punk was going to do something because he was taunting him. So I was like, yeah. He's about to mess something up because Punk, it's CM Punk. Something's going to happen. Ghostbuster reference. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen right here. Yeah, man. Boricua. We don't have any money in us. Boricua, Boricua. I was like, only in WrestleMania can have a Puerto Rican win the title, and everybody's just like, oh my god. And it's funny. If you're not a Yankee fan, did you know that he uses that all rise because of Aaron Judge from the New York Yankees? If you're a Red Sox fan, you just officially hated him so much more. So yeah. And it's funny, when he won the title, he went to Yankee Stadium. He was scared. He thought the fans were going to the wrestlers, the baseball players were all going to hate him. And he came in there and they're all happy and they want to touch the title and they took pictures with him. It was so funny. I was like, didn't they do that like with somebody else before? But what do you guys think about the European title get rumored coming back when they go to the bash in Berlin? I'm personally excited because I love the European title. I love when they had Triple H had it, Shawn Michaels had it, British Bulldog had it, D'Lo Brown had it. There was so many wrestlers. Like, if you guys know all in the chat, who was your favorite European champion? Because I personally loved everybody that was champion, even though sometimes some of the wrestlers kind of you felt like, should they have given it to like it had William Regal had that belt, X-Pac had that belt. It was like Triple H, Shawn Michaels. Oh my gosh. I think even Bret Hart won that title for a little bit. There was a few champions. And then of course they had to like somebody had it, the Intercontinental. I think Rob Van Dam was the last champion that had that belt, and then it went into the Intercontinental title, so they merged it, and then we lost the European title. It died. So, like, what do you guys think? Are you happy that WWE is possibly bringing back the European title, or do you think this is what we're getting, or are you happy, or do you think maybe, just maybe, this may be another Triple H, yeah, I got you people kind of thing? Or do you think maybe we're going to have some fun? I personally think that Triple H is now, as you all know, he's the captain, he's the king. So he took the keys and he's running with this. It's not like he's just sitting there like like Vince McMahon, cat falling out of the tree and trying to figure out, oh, let's get an old legend to take a title. We're gonna give these young puppies, finally give them the young horses and let them run with run with what they want to run with. Because why else would they give Damian Priest the world heavyweight title? He had the Money in the Bank with all this sad rumors that they say he wasn't ready to take the reins and run with it. Are you kidding me? I think he's ready. And like, even though he's part of a stable that pretty much has almost all the titles, personally, I'm glad. And maybe he'll be nice and give Finn Balor a chance at the world heavyweight title, even though he's part of Judgment Day. I'd give him a title shot against his own teammate, even though it's kind of like team versus team. Haven't they done that a few other times? Didn't the Four Horsemen do that with Ric Flair? Didn't Shawn Michaels do that with Triple H? Did anybody else do that? Like, didn't we do that in the NWO? Like, didn't like Kevin Nash with it was kind of like the poke of death, but like, didn't they do that with other teams too? Like, let other people have a shot. Like, oh, another thing, with the Intercontinental title changing hands, would you change that belt? Would you make it look different? I personally think that I would make the Intercontinental title look differently. Change the look. It kind of has that not so appealing look to it. I may go back and maybe make the title round again, like it was the the 2000s. Yes, if anybody in the chat remembers the Intercontinental title when it was Intercontinental, like Long Island came out of me. Intercontinental, the Intercontinental title, the round belt. I'd make it the round title again because I don't know. I can't put my hands around this title that belt. I just don't like it. It doesn't have color. It's like, I'm half Puerto Rican and I'm half Italian. So like something that does not look like it has a little zhizh in it, I'm like, it's like if I have bad Wi-Fi, I'm doing a video chat with a girl. It's like, if give it a color. Like, if it's a SmackDown title now, put blue in it. Like, put some blue. Like, if anybody remembers the old tag team titles, it was a world in the middle. Make put a world or something. Make the strap blue. Like, change the color of something so when the fans see the IC title is the working man's title. Give it a look. Give it a pop. Make it pop. Like, if you put something on something, you have to give it a feeling, because everybody knows the Intercontinental title is that title that had the little rivets in it, and that and for a while it had the white strap. Like, give it another color strap. Like, remember when the Ultimate Warrior won the World Wrestling Federation title, WWF title, the WWE Legends title, the one that Hogan had it. Remember, he made the strap white or blue or whatever it was. Change the color of it. Give it a different look. Don't change the name, because you can't change the name of the Intercontinental title. That's the belt that we all grew up knowing. But change the look to it. Even they change the look to it, change the strap. Maybe when it has that weird rivets in the thing, put like blue in every other color in the belt. So you're like, that's what it is. The Intercontinental title. No, now I know. Okay. Because when you see it, we had the guy that had the longest reigning Intercontinental title reign in history of the WWE. And the title was, he had it for all that time, like Roman. Let's give it a different look now. Because remember, he had the belt. And then now another guy has it. Give it a different look. Like, everybody's thinking, it's gonna make it if we're in a new Triple H era, and this is a new era, let's change things. Let's not keep the same thing. Like, I changed my look. I have these big puffy beautiful glasses on now. I used to have no lenses. Look at different look. Change it like a snake. Changing my skin. Like, what is about people hating change? I don't get it. I don't get the not liking when something's new. You can't you why do people not like new things? Is it because they're not part of it? Or is it they're just so used to the same old same, and they just don't know how to not do it? Or is it just people don't like when they're not part of something, they get mad? Like, WWE fans, I've been a fan since I was a little boy. So WWE fans, even in the 90s, in the 2000s, there was no internet yet. You couldn't just go on your cell phone and go on an app and look things up, or go on YouTube. YouTube was just rising, just coming to life. Like, we learned about new things and like news just by hearing from somebody else. Like, did you hear that this guy won? Or like when Bob Backlund got beat by Diesel in the Garden about in the record short time, I was just like, wait, what? I almost said Bob Barker. Well, that would have been funny. Bob Backlund just got beat by Diesel in the Garden in a record 3 seconds. Huh? As that cat would say on TikTok, huh? You kidding me? If that would have happened nowadays, and it would have been like a certain person just beat the world heavyweight champion in Madison Square Garden at a house show, everybody would have lost their mind. And then now we have cameras and cell phones and tablets. Imagine those videos if like Damian Priest lost to if Damian Priest would have cashed in the Money in the Bank at the Garden at a house show, and he beat the champion at the time. Imagine that. Imagine people. You're watching your laptop, or you're watching whatever, and then you find out Damian Priest just cashed in at a house show. How would you all react? I would be like, first off, damn it, I should have bought a ticket to that house show. Second off, how dare you at a house show? But hey, we got a guest here. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to our friend here. Welcome, big guy.
What's up, buddy?
Welcome, man. So my guest couldn't make it tonight, so I had to. I'm the type of person, if I get canceled, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna cancel this. Because you know what? I got that energy. I got that Boricua energy. I'm gonna keep this keep this train going. So, man, if my
There you
international
go.
audience is not familiar with you, introduce yourself.
What's up, man? I'm Johnny Rexfield. Big fan of WWE and wrestling. I've since I was like 5 or 6 years old, I've been watching wrestling, and I fell in love, man, ever since. And a couple of months ago, me and my buddies we decided to create a podcast in Spanish for the Spanish community, so that they can hear, our reviews, especially for SmackDown and Raw.
Mm,
And it's been great, man. We're rookies. We're starting in this. Like I said, it's been like maybe a month and a half now, and man, we're loving it. I Right now I got the flu, man, and I've been feeling like like crap lately. But
yeah.
it's all good, man. I'm happy to be here with you.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad. I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry about you for everybody catching the flu. Send them my love, the Panther loves. I hope you guys are. Hope everybody's okay.
Oh man, appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that we're gonna talk. Well, let's talk about the awesome win by our now Puerto Rican world heavyweight. So, what were you thinking when he came out? Did you think he was gonna do it, or do you think he was like, you think he was just gonna back down, or like, I thought he was gonna do it. I was just like, ooh, this is happening.
Um, I was not sure he was gonna cash in at WrestleMania. I knew he was gonna cash in soon. It took me by surprise when he cashed it in. But as soon as Drew started messing with CM Punk for no reason after the match, I knew something was up, and I knew that music was gonna hit. And he came out and he hit him with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and man, everything after that was gold.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I personally like watched that Mania, and I was just like, wow, this Mania is really good. I'm pissed that I couldn't have gone to Philadelphia this year. I was just like, oh, I could have been
Yeah,
there
my
for a
buddy
wedding.
was there, man. He told me that the atmosphere was crazy. It was cold, especially the night one was cold. But he told me it was great. I was surprised, and when Damien cashed in, man, he got that ovation, and I'm very happy for him. I think he has done a great job, especially in this last year, carrying superstars like Bad Bunny, who is not a professional wrestler, and he made him look like a wrestler, in the ring, like a superstar. And I think the Triple H and everybody on top, they're like paying him off now, and I think he deserves it. I think he's going to do a great job. I'm just hoping that he gets some time as as a champion. I'm hoping that they don't take it away from him soon, because I think he has the charisma, the look, and to be a great champion. Hopefully,
I agree with you. I don't think I don't think they're gonna take it just give him the belt and then Triple H's gonna do like Vince and go like this, yoink. I think they're gonna keep him with the title for a while because we really haven't had a champion that looks like a real champion since Triple H. Like that I'm 40. So like this month I'll be 41. So like we haven't had a champion that looked like a champion since like the people like I'm going back. I'm like going to the Triple H's, the Hogans, the Stone Cold that had that look. You know what I mean, Johnny? That had that look, and you go, man, I wouldn't fuck with that guy. No, I'll leave. I forfeit. Like, you know what I mean, Johnny? Like, it's hard to say. Like, we have had champions like Shawn Michaels. It's funny telling the young wrestling fans that we had champions in our era that I wouldn't mess with, like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the Undertaker, like that real badasses. Like that were we had champions that had belts that were badasses that you would not mess with. Now we got Priest and he's a badass and he's good on the mic, man. He's not like, like, oh, I'm gonna take the mic and just blabber for 10 minutes. He's funny. Like he'll go after you with words. Am I right?
yeah, I think he has improved a lot his mic skills. As far as a champion since Triple H, this is a great thing about wrestling is that everybody enjoys wrestling in their own ways, and you have your own thoughts, and which is great. That's what wrestling is all about. That's the great thing about this community that everybody can watch it and enjoy it and have their own opinions. I think. I think we've had a couple, that I can name. I think Roman was a solid champion, even though he was not present as much as we would have wanted him to, maybe because of his condition. But I think Roman had the presence and the look of a very intimidating a champion. Same thing with Randy when Randy was a champion. Randy is 6'5", great mic skills. Same thing with John Cena, but there's been a couple here and there. But I agree with you. Triple H was one of those champions. By the way, Triple H used to be my favorite, and he was one of those guys that he would get the microphone, and that's why he was known as the cerebral assassin.
Yeah.
He had great mic skills, great in-ring performance. Triple H is one of the best of all times. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
He's hit the mic skills for like Triple H were like he can go from north to south in like 10 seconds. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah. Like,
definitely.
he'll be like doing this and then like, you're like, okay, do we just have someone really pissed off Triple H? Like, oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. It's he was man, he was great. Even when he was in DX back then, he always showed a great microphone skills. But then when he took solo, um, he just took a huge step. And back then he was pretty much like one of the best with the microphones. You had the Rock of Score. Of course, you had Austin, but Triple H was right. He was toe to toe with them, definitely.
So out of all like Triple H's matches, like which one would you say like would have to be like your all-time favorite?
Oh man,
Gotcha. Dang it.
um, he's got some great matches, but I think the one in SummerSlam when he fought Shawn Michaels when Michaels returned, I think it was a street fight. And man, that fight, the story that they told in the ring, it was amazing, man. What those two wrestlers did in the ring that night, it was amazing. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, you got two of the best in the business giving it all. I think that match, Triple H and Shawn, was one of the best ones, in my opinion. Of course, you've had many, like with the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Well, they had three, but especially the one in the Hell in a Cell was amazing too. It was a great match. But if you ask me which one is my favorite at the high, I have to go with Shawn and Triple H at SummerSlam. I think it was SummerSlam 2000. Was it 2005? I'm not sure. Can't remember.
I was actually at that SummerSlam.
Oh, you were there?
Yes, and I could still hear the
What
crowd.
year was it?
What I think it was 2014.
No, I think it was no. It was like 2005 or.
But yeah, so
it was-
my ears get mangled up some of the time when I've been to like so many WWF shows, WWE shows when I was a kid. But that was my summer that me and my buddy bought tickets for SummerSlam, and I've never been to a live I went to like pay-per-views, but never been like to like I went to house shows, but I never got a chance to go to like a live show. And that was the first time I ever didn't go with my uncle. My uncle used to get tickets for me for the Garden all the time. And my friends said, "You want to go? He needs some money." I gave him the money. And man, we got there early, and that's the first time I actually got a chance to meet a wrestler, like not like at a autograph signing. I got a chance to meet Batista before he was Demand, the monster, like the animal. He was still Deacon Batista when I met him outside Nassau Coliseum.
Wow.
It was the old Nassau, the old Nassau Coliseum, the old looking. If you see the
Yeah.
pictures, that old weird, old smell, still smells like stale popcorn that probably been there since the '80s when the Islanders won the cups. Like that, there's so many jokes about Nassau Coliseum. Like the hot dog vendor didn't even start the hot dogs for the day, and you already smell. Oh, we have a we have my guest that I was supposed to have today. Here we go. Welcome to the
I am
party.
so sorry. Oh my goodness. I
We-
mixed up the times. I am so sorry. I'm here now though.
Welcome. We're currently doing we're talking about WWE. We're talking about wrestling. Welcome. Wait, hold on. Boom. Yeah, you're better.
Awesome. I am so sorry. I mixed up the times. I thought you guys were only an hour ahead of me. I'm just getting out of training. I am so sorry.
No problem. This is my guest for today. I can flip the camera. There you go. Welcome. So we have a wrestler on the show with us now. Welcome.
Hello.
There you go.
Yes.
It's
Hi.
me, Noelle.
No, it's Noelle. Welcome, dudes at
Hello.
Ringside Podcast. Welcome, Noelle.
Thank you.
Yes. So Noelle, so how did you get your start in the business?
My start in the business. Well, you see, a long time ago, I mean 3 years ago, not a long time, but a long time ago, I was 13 years old, and I had wanted to be a wrestler since I was 8, kind of like childhood dream type stuff, kind of a cheesy story, but basically I started saving money when I was 13 years old to put towards wrestling. And when I was 16, I eventually started training, but how I fell in love with wrestling was when I was 8 years old. My brother got a video game, and being the mean older brother he would never let me play it. I got to sit beside him and watch him play it. And that video game was SmackDown versus Raw 2009. And it just like blew our minds. Like our little 8 and 10-year-old minds, we were blown. Like I remember the first time seeing the Big Show. The Big Show's like that blew our minds. We thought the Big Show was awesome. So eventually we realized, oh crap, we can watch this on TV. So I still remember, because if anyone had on demand back in like the 2010s, you knew the TV guide would give you like a little description of the episode. And I still remember the description of the first SmackDown episode I watched was John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio in an arm wrestling contest. And basically that's how it started, and it's just been my thing ever since.
Crazy.
Yeah.
See,
Crazy.
yeah,
Like me.
Yeah. So, yeah. You have any questions for my guest?
Do you?
Yes.
I have answers.
Yes. My Johnny, you want to ask her any questions?
Yeah, Johnny, you want to ask me any questions?
So you've been wrestling now for a while?
Yes, I've been wrestling for it was 3 years on April 12th.
And what part are you located in the States?
I'm in Denver, Colorado. I wrestle. I've been trained and I wrestle at Rocky Mountain Pro.
Okay. Have you been able to be in one of those WWE shows?
You know, unfortunately, not yet. But extra work is always what I'm looking for. So it's not yet, but hopefully it's down the road.
Okay. Well, I hope that you keep going. Don't stop.
I won't.
Keep going.
Only stop
Look,
if you drop. That's what I say.
look what happened to Cody. That's the best example. You know, he got the worst. What was it? Stardust, right? And nobody believed in Cody back then. And look where he's at now. You know, it's crazy. I was one of those guys when I saw Stardust. I said, "This guy is done. His career is done." You know, and what did he do? He left, and then he made a name for himself, and he's a champion now.
Exactly. Like for me, that's crazy, because like when I started watching wrestling, it was the Rhodes brothers. It was just after the first tag team win over the Shield, and then like he did Stardust, and I was in the same boat. I was like, they just ruined Cody Rhodes. Like they just totally ruined him. And I remember like when he first left, I think in like 2016, when he was doing that independent route, I still was like, he's just gonna be an indie darling for the rest of his life. But no, like it's a this is gonna sound cheesy, but I do believe that's a testament to what pro wrestling is. It's one big journey, like
Of course,
from
yeah.
from starting your career, like if you've ever trained to be a wrestler, you start with basic rolls, basic bumps and stuff like that, but you work down the line to more complicated stuff. And like, I don't know, like I think Cody Rhodes' story is just, it's really a wrestling story, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. I like
Well,
to yap
he
a lot.
he reinvented himself. He got almost destroyed completely with Stardust, and like I said, with Stardust there was no future, and he left to the Indies for years, and he proved himself that he was not Stardust. He was something else. He was meant for something bigger, and I mean, look where he's at now. Main event in WrestleMania, second year in a row, and now is the WWE Universal Champion.
Exactly.
That's
And
it.
that, like, and just from like a wrestler on the indie scenes perspective, that really, like, that gave us hope again, in my opinion, because like, we've there's been this era where they've just signed college athletes and people they can mold from the beginning. But with Cody, like, at least in my opinion, like, that really gave me hope. Like, okay, like, they still want wrestlers. Like, they're still looking there, because I feel like you can teach anyone how to wrestle. Like, you can teach anyone how to do moves, you can teach anyone how to run a spot or anything like that. But with Cody, you can't really teach psychology. You can't really teach storytelling. That's something that develops, and like a true journeyman man. He learned his craft and came back better than ever.
He did, and he had all of those stuff that you just mentioned. He had the character. I mean, I'm sorry, he had that mentality. He had everything except that the character was not the best. Unfortunately, Stardust was the worst thing, and at the same time, the best thing that happened to him. Because if it wasn't for Stardust, he wouldn't be where he's at right now.
I agree, and like, that's the thing about characters too. And as someone who plays her character, like, you can get stuck with something, so like you don't even know. Like, when I first started, and like when many people, like, when they first start, they're just happy to be there, and like, that is a rough character to work, because it's like, what are you trying to be? Like,
Yeah.
what are you trying to do? But like, as you go down the road and develop it, like, I'll say this, like, if Cody would have stayed as Stardust, maybe he would have been able to develop that character into something. Maybe not. So that's always been interesting to me, like, character wrestlers. Like, how can you develop that? How do you know when a character is a dud? Like, but yeah, yeah.
So with your character, like, did you have to, like, as seen a lot of stuff of your character with the masks and like the way your character does her things and the facial expressions? Did you watch a lot of like Saw as a kid, or did you watch a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Like, what gave you that, like, your character, like what gave you the authentic ideas for your character?
So for me, personally, I've struggled a lot with mental health. Like, ever since I was young, like, I was bullied really bad. Like, I've always had a really, really hard time kind of being like the odd one out. So like, my character doesn't really come from like a movie or a TV show. My character is me turned up a couple notches. Like, when you see me freaking out, twitching around, like, like, that's something I've done, like, straight up. Like, that's something I've done when I'm having a panic attack or being upset. Like, my, especially as I've gotten older, the marionette has really, it's evolved from a piece of me. Like, I always like to say, like, everybody has that dark side. Everybody has those like intrusive thoughts, and to me, the marionette is just an outward representation of those thoughts. Like, yeah, like, me, the person, I'm very weird. I can be scary. I can get upset. Like, I have like I talk to myself sometimes, like I'll twitch, like sometimes I twitch and stuff like that. So for me, like, I just go out there and I turn that up. But that's not to say like I haven't, like, like The Exorcist, I popped that movie in, been like, okay, she twitches this way, I'm gonna twitch that way, stuff like that. But I will say, like, a lot of my character inspiration, it just comes from me and stuff like that. As scary as that sounds, but
As long as you enjoy it, when you're doing it, if you have fun, if you could be yourself and you enjoy it and you get something from that, then you're doing a great job.
no, I and I do, like I was saying, like, in the beginning, I started when I was 16. So like I was very, very young, and like it's you don't really know yourself when you're 16. Like you're learning about yourself, and I kind of like, it's funny how my wrestling story like lines up with my real life story, because when, again, like I said, when I first started, I was happy to be there, and then I got possessed and I got kidnapped, and you see the creepy come out, and then now it's like evolved into like a happy medium of the two. And like, I still get upset and I still get twitchy and I still want to like rip your face off, but it's in a much more controlled way. But don't get me to that point. I've kind of brought the two together almost, in a way, like the happy to be there side and the darker side. So that's kind of, yeah, how I'd explain that. Like, I have so much fun doing it. Like, my favorite people to interact with as the marionette are the kids. Love the kids, because they're either terrified or they go up to you and they're like, "You're not scary," and then you're having this argument with an 8-year-old, and the 8-year-old's kind of roasting you, and you can't really say anything. But yeah,
Yeah, as long as you have fun doing it, and if because I've now that you mentioned, depression, anxiety, I've been through that, and if wrestling is something, a tool that just helps you releasing all of that stress, then then keep doing it. You can't stop. Makes you
no,
happy, you just keep
definitely.
going.
Definitely, like, I agree with you. Like, I literally am coming from training right now. That's why I was a little late. I'm sitting in my car outside my gym, and like for me, like, talking like personally, like, I wrestling is my is my, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Outlet, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's your therapy.
Yeah, because like, COVID happened when I was a freshman in high school.
Wow.
So I got shut down from everything, and like, I'll even tell you, like, I don't think my social skills are really up maybe where they should be. But through wrestling, it really, really helped me. Like, I wasn't going to school in person, so like my school, school of life was wrestling. I'm very grateful to be able to start as young as I am, because I've been able to grow up in a locker room. I've learned lessons that, some people don't learn until their mid-20s, especially in wrestling. So it's like, I get a little emotional, but like, I say wrestling saved my life, because it did. Like, when you're a kid, and like, you're struggling with the mental stuff, and like, you're getting into some bad decisions and some bad people. Like, I've always said it this way, like, so many things have tried to pull me off the path, but wrestling, it's like a magnet. It pulls me right back, and it's, a lot of the time, it's been my saving grace. Like, there's been times where I've wanted to say, you know what, I'm done with everything, I'm da 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 da, but like, the thought in my mind, it comes in, oh, you gotta wrestle tomorrow, so you can't you can't, you gotta pull yourself up by the bootstraps, like get out of this mentality, because when you walk into wrestling, when you walk into a match, nothing else matters but the match. Nothing else matters but the story and the other person's safety. And it's, especially when I was younger, and friendships would break down, boys, whatever, wrestling was like kind of that real thing that would pull me back to earth and be like, hey, you've got something real to focus on right now. Like I said, like I'm very grateful, grateful for like the community in general. Like, look at you guys, you're doing a podcast about wrestling, and that's freaking
Yeah.
awesome. Like that's wrestling just brings together so many different people and so many like
Different areas.
walks, exactly, like
I'm from
walks of
PA.
life.
He's like, where are you from?
I'm from Colorado.
Colorado? Where are you from, Johnny?
Florida.
From Florida. See? Different
No,
areas of the
exactly.
country.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very like, I'll say, I say it all the time, like anyone can find something they love in wrestling. Anyone. Like I believe truly, like there's a place for everybody. Maybe it's not as a wrestler, maybe it's as a referee, maybe it's as a commentator, maybe it's as a backstage person, but it's so unique. It's so unique that it's just like there's no cookie cutter image for a wrestler, like in my personal opinion. Like maybe once upon a time, like during the big sweaty man era, but I feel like now, like anybody can, and that's truly what I like about wrestling, because like I was younger, growing up, dealing with that mental stuff, being bullied, that like when I finally started wrestling, I was like, it felt like like the last puzzle piece, because like I always felt like that odd puzzle piece, and like when I my first day at training, pop, it was just like the puzzle piece popped in. So like very, very thankful for like just wrestling in general. Like I say this all the time, like I'm like, if it ended tomorrow, like I would still be happy, with what I've done and who I've got to meet and like what I've gotten to do. Yeah, very, very thankful. Very thankful.
Oh, it's not ending tomorrow. It's not happening.
No.
And like I always say, like I agree with you. If you tune in to watch Raw or SmackDown, and if you don't take anything from that show, and you go like, I didn't like any of it, there's something wrong with you. There's always something that for you to enjoy when you watch WWE or wrestling in general. Always. There's
Yeah.
always going to be something. And that's the reason why we're all here.
Because
Don't
you
you
think
agree?
about it, even like we could go back to the 2000s. There was ECW for the hardcore people. There was WCW for the more traditional fans, if you want to argue that. And then there was WWF. And even now, like there's WWE, there's AEW, but there's also a million of indie promotions. Like we're in such an awesome like renaissance, I feel like, for the indies. I feel like back in like 2015, I almost feel like Triple H killed the indies. He took so many guys like Sami Zayn, Kevin
Yeah.
Owens. He took so many guys that like the indies have kind of struggled to build back up. But I think we're in a place where like you see GCW, you see places like HAW, like Rocky Mountain Pro, like they're all popping up. That like I feel like we're entering like a new era, in my opinion. Like I feel like I feel like I sound like WWE, but I feel like we're almost like on the cusp of something great. Like cause like I'll be on Instagram and I see a new poster for a new show literally 5 times a day, and I'm like, sick. There's so many places I can go wrestle, and so many places, like there are to wrestle. Like, the next 6 weeks for me are all booked out. I'm wrestling every single weekend for the next 6 weeks, and like that wouldn't be
That's
possible
great.
without all the other indie promotions. And yeah, I'm just very thankful for like where wrestling is at right now, and I think we're gonna evolve into something great, something even more. I've heard people say like, I don't know if I believe this, but I've heard people say, you know, the territories could come back, and I'm like, but that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
I'd be kind of weird because the reason why I became a wrestling fan is not because of the Hogans or the Macho Mans or the Andres. My grandfather was a wrestler, and he wrestled
Really?
under Vince's dad, and
No way.
he wrestled under the territories, the New York to like Maryland territory. I think that was like the East Coast territory. I think that was what they called that one. And like he would do a show and then come home and watch it on TV with my dad and his twin, and then his brother. So like he was a masked wrestler. His name was Jose Quinones, and
Really?
like it was so
That
crazy because
sounds
like
familiar, actually. The
yep,
last name sounds really familiar.
yep. When we're back on Instagram, I'll send you a picture of my grandfather so you could see what he looks like.
No, that would be so dope.
Yeah,
That's
he was a heel, and everybody's like, Joe, why are you such a good guy? I'm like, remember Roman Reigns started out as a tweener, people.
I know.
Remember that, people. When you turn around, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You needed a chair. That's me. I go
No.
to these shows. You think I'm a good guy, and I'm like Paul Heyman. I'll be like, don't hurt me. I'm so sorry. Here's a chair.
No, I love that. I love fans and crowds that they interact. Like
Yeah.
I love when people like I was talking about with the kids. Like I love, you know, talking and interacting with little kids, you know, because like I said, they're either scared and they're like hiding behind their mom and dad, or they're ready to fight you. They're ready to go. They gotta chill. I remember one little girl. I had my mask on, and she yanked them but she yanked it down, and I was like, okay, this is fun. This is fun. And like just wrestling crowds. Like there's a difference between wrestling in front of an audience and wrestling in front of a wrestling audience. Because here in Denver, like I'll tell you guys about Colorado and Colorado's wrestling area. We have great wrestling. We have, you know, the top promotion in Colorado is probably Triple L, Lucha Libre and Laughs, followed by Rocky Mountain Pro, and then we have BPW, Primos, One Revolution, you know. But the thing about Colorado is we're very hidden and we're very landlocked. You know, there's not a lot of people in Colorado who go home and turn on Monday Night Raw. You know, so we'll do
Really?
shows at like bars and stuff like that. And yes, the crowd is rowdy. Yes, they're loud, but they're not a wrestling crowd, if that makes sense. You know, they don't, I don't want to say they don't like interact, but you know, there's a difference between like wrestling in front of a bunch of drunk people and then wrestling in front of people who are like, I'm here to see some wrestling. You know what I'm
They're
saying?
more conservative, right? Like when it comes to the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy to think. You made me smile a little bit bigger because Noelle, you said like the indie scene and like being back. You probably heard me before. I live in Pennsylvania, so I go to like there's a lot of smaller promotions. I go to like there's one in Sladyton, PA. I'll be there on Saturday. PPW, they're doing like their WrestleMania show because they didn't want to do it last week when Philadelphia was crazy because they would have lost a lot of fans if they would have did the show last week. So like, have you ever thought of coming this direction, coming
Oh
east?
yeah. Oh yeah. Like that's my goal, is I want to go more out east because like wrestling's just bigger. You bring up Pennsylvania, what do I think of? I think of ECW. You know, like I think of that, and like one of my dreams, I would love to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. Like that is just such a cool place. But I mean, right now, like I want to go everywhere. Like I want to go from California all the way to New York to Florida to Alaska. Like I want to go everywhere, but definitely the East, just because I've been wrestling in the Midwest a lot, and to go from wrestling in Colorado, where wrestling is more of like a hidden thing, to the Midwest, where there's where there's like hundreds of promotions, hundreds of different wrestlers, and like really like die hard indie fans. It's so cool, and that makes me only want to go. Like I want to go wrestle in front of a Philly crowd. I want to go wrestle in front of a New York crowd. Like it's, you know, I recently went to Arkansas, and
Wow.
that was one of, you know, the funnest crowds I've worked, you know, just because I feel like when I'm thinking of like in the East and in the South, like I go back and I think of the territory days where wrestling has always been a thing. And it really, I feel like, holds true to even this day, because you can tell with the crowds, you know, just like who's here to see like wrestling and who's just here to have a good time, which there's nothing wrong about that. Nothing wrong about having a beer and, you know, going to watch a wrestling show with you, buddy. But I like, as a wrestler, I definitely noticed the difference, and I've come to really appreciate, you know, the fans and stuff like that, especially the diehard fans, like driving 6 hours to come just watch one show, because that's what we do, wrestlers. You know, we drive 6 hours to have an 8 minute match. You know, like you drive 6 hours, have an 8 minute match, get your hot dog and your handshake, and you're on your way. There's that dedication, like that again, like I just think kind of goes through like wrestling in general. Like, you know, like us wrestlers and wrestling fans, we really like, we commit. We commit, you know? Like this weekend I'll be in Kansas for Heartland Championship Wrestling. And you know, that's it. That's an 8 hour drive from Colorado. And you know, 8 hour drive, I'll wrestle 10-15 minutes, but you know, it's still worth it to me. You know, and it's the same for that fan who like, oh, I want to see my favorite wrestler. I'm gonna drive 6 hours to see them. That's the same vibe. So like, I've come to really appreciate the fans, and like guys like you, like doing these podcasts. Like I've been on a lot of smaller like wrestling podcasts lately, and like I always enjoy the conversation. Always enjoy talking to other wrestlers, to other wrestling fans. Like, you know, like especially in the past year, just like a really deep appreciation for the fans, because if no one was watching, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah. You got any more questions for Noelle, Johnny?
No. Actually, here in Florida, I've been to a couple of shows, indie shows, and man, the crowd here, it's wild. The crowd here in Florida, it's loud. It's very exciting, and I think the last time I went, Carlito was wrestling in that indie show,
That must have been so fun.
and he wrestled, and Primo, which is his cousin, no, his brother, he also wrestled, and it was crowded. It was crowded. It was full. It was a great event, but it meant the crowd was just loud, and that's what makes the environment so exciting. You know, when the crowd is always
I agree.
screaming and they're exciting and they're so energetic. And here, especially in Central Florida, where there's so many Latinos, that we're known for being loud. And when they're watching wrestling, they get even louder. And that's like a adrenaline injection for if when you're the performer, when you're the wrestler, when you're in the ring, you know, and you feel that energy, and you just pumped up, you know, and that's what you get from. I mean, my experience from what I'm seeing when I go to those shows here in Florida, which is great.
Exactly. Like you know, I've wrestled in front of no people. I've wrestled in front of hundreds of people. And like you said, like the feeling, like the energy, like, you know, you can go out there and you can have a good match in front of no people, but you know, it's the crowd makes a show. The crowd is a part of the show just as much as we are.
Yeah,
And you know, like there's been times where I actually I broke my thumb. I remember I had broke my thumb in a match, but I was so like that crowd was so loud, the energy was so like like I didn't even notice it until I got back, and I was like, oh crap, my thumb's broken. You know, so like I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, yes, you can go out there and you can wrestle in front of 5-10 people and it can be a good match, but when there's 500, like that's insane. Like I think about WrestleMania, like watching WrestleMania, and like like them standing in that ring and those thousands of people, like that must be a new level of just adrenaline. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah.
it's crazy, and that's something I could only dream of doing, man. Like that is because like the first time you're in front of a crowd, like you just get addicted to it, man. Like I remember like going out for my very very first match, and I'm so nervous, like I'm like literally shaking, like I'm so shy, and like I'm just like but as soon as I went out the curtain and I heard people, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, these people are watching me, they're getting with it, like, so yeah, like crowds, they can make I feel like fans don't realize that they're a big part of the show as well, you know.
Yeah, I had the opportunity of wrestling a couple of times in Puerto Rico, and I know that energy. I know once you walked out of that curtain, it's just pure adrenaline. So I can totally relate. It's awesome. There's no words to describe it, and I can't. I mean, this is nothing. I mean, I can't even imagine like what those guys go through when they walk
Exactly.
out of that curtain, and there's 75,000 fans. That's got to be
it's
crazy.
it's definite. It would, like, picture doing that for like the first time too, like you just debuting or something like that, because like that must be crazy, because I remember when I debuted and there was like 20 people there, that was like so like to really think like what it would be like, and for me, like I want to be able to play my character in front of thousands and thousands of people, because like I feel like, for me especially, like when I get out there, like I I am the marionette. Like I
Hmm.
am fully like encased, and when people are loud and like that helps me, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna turn it up a little bit. So like I, as a character, like I want to go out there in a WrestleMania crowd, just to even like just walk down the aisle as the character would just be crazy, man. Like
I don't
crazy.
know if you know, but Rhea Ripley, she had an anxiety attack right before walking out.
Yeah,
Really?
So even those guys, they feel the anxiety, they feel that energy, and we sometimes we see them on TV, and we go like, oh, they got everything under control, they're so used to it. But she had a mental breakdown or something, an anxiety attack or a panic attack. I think it was a panic attack right before
yeah.
her match, and I think I don't know if who was the one that helped her. Uh,
Becky. I think it
was
was
it
Becky.
Becky?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, she probably it was Becky. But yeah, she had an anxiety attack, which it's not a good thing for right before a match when you have 72,000 people outside, and the band that performs your entrance theme, it's playing live, so it's like you got to keep it together, you
Exactly.
know.
Mm.
But it
It's
happens.
it's truly an art, because like I wouldn't have guessed 5 minutes before she was freaking out, because she went out there and she went out there and
Yeah.
owned the place. Like it really is a testament, and like I feel like now wrestlers are being respected more, but like especially like when I was growing up, everyone would be like, that's fake, that's stupid, like da, 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 da. But like I'm like, like when
Our
they
movie's fake. Our movie's fake. Isn't it the same? Right?
Yeah. I tell people at work all the time. Like, how do you watch that stuff? It's so how do you talk
Movies
to
are
those
fake.
people, Joe? They're all characters, And I go,
exactly.
you watch American. What's a big popular thing right now? You guys are all watching American Horror Story now, right? I'm looking right
Mhm.
at you, people. I love you, brain workers, but you guys watch American Horror Story, right?
No, no, I don't.
I do,
I
yeah.
don't.
I
I
Yeah,
don't
that's what
follow.
I'm just saying. Not you guys. I'm just saying. While looking at the audience, that
Uh,
non-wrestling
Oh,
fans that popped in.
audience, what's your favorite season of American Horror Story?
Mine,
Mine
mine
is
is
Kevin.
Mine has to be the when they were in the camp.
Freak Show.
Was it Freak Show with the camp? Was that which one was the one with the camp? It was kind of like Jason a little bit.
I think that was 1980 something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I cried at the end of the show when they played that song. Oh God, spoiler! If you haven't seen that season yet, that last episode, I cried. And then why is it the next day at work they played that song on the radio? I'm stocking shelves. I'm going like
It just
crying.
hits too hard, the feels, man.
Yeah, but
That song made me
like you
cry.
said,
I thought of my grandpa that I never met. Jose Quinones, I love you, Grandpa. Crying.
it's like wrestling is the one thing that makes me feel like a kid again. You know, it makes me feel happy. I always find joy when I'm watching it, even if the match sucks. There's always something, like I said before, that you can relate to or get out of it. You know, it's just great. I love wrestling, man. That's the reason why we're here.
I agree, and it's like I feel like people like don't realize like you can't fake getting hit. You know,
Yeah.
like you can't fake getting knocked down. Like every time we take a bump, it's like putting a body through a car crash. You know, like so like you can't fake that. But like you know, people would say that to me all the time. But I'm like, you know, it may be fake, but it makes me feel real things. You know, like, and you can't fake emotion. I mean, you can't fake genuine emotion. You know what I'm saying? And that's something like you were saying, how wrestling makes you feel like a little kid. You can't fake that. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I love wrestling.
Me too.
I get arguments like with people that are non-wrestling fans. I tell them all the time. I go, you get mad about me talking about wrestling, but I'm also a nerd, so I also talk about Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
Like you know that meme where they have the person that people are sad and then the other things are trying to hug them. Me, I have wrestling, a giant person that's a big wrestling person trying to hug me. I got Ghostbusters. I got 80s culture trying to hug me all at the same time. So there's certain things that everybody clings to. That keeps them from crying in the middle of the day because they know everything else is fake and not real. And wrestling comes in. If they want to watch the podcast, it's on the Joe Panther Variety Show. Tell your friends, come hang out with us on the Joe Panther Variety Show. Yell at the window, yell. Don't forget to subscribe, Joe Panther Variety Show.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe. What was it again?
The Joe Panther Variety Show.
The Joe Panther Variety Show. There we go.
There you go. That's one way. Get him, girl.
There you go.
Yeah. For me, it's like everything. Because as a kid, I was, told that I was told very young. I didn't know. Everybody thinks, oh, Joe, you knew your grandfather was a wrestler. No, I found out after the first time I went to Madison Square Garden. After a week later, my dad says, "Sit down, son. I want to show you this picture." A picture book is opened, a page is turned, and my life has changed forever. They said,
that's how it is, dude.
This is your grandfather. He wrestled under Vince McMahon's dad. And I'm just like taking in, thinking he just said that my grandfather wrestled and against Hogan and never did. But I'm going,
no, he could have.
He wrestled against people like Killer Kowalski.
Okay.
Assy Freddie Blassie. He was one of good friends with
Kowalski was Triple H's a trainer, right?
Yeah. He trained Triple H in China.
Yeah, he and it's funny, he was good friends with Haystacks Calhoun.
Really?
Yeah, I was like one of my funny story for you guys. Won't take long. When my grandfather would travel in throughout the city to do wrestling shows at Comac and stuff like that, my grandfather had a hatchback. So Haystacks Calhoun would actually sit in the back of the hatchback because he was so big. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
He had to sit on the back of the hatchback and travel with him because he was so big.
Wow.
Dude, that's crazy.
Imagine that weight in the back of that hatchback.
How tall was he?
And that's the thing. You can't fake that. Like Haystacks Calhoun, and I'm trying to think of the name. They were twins. I just can't think of their names. Like
Yeah,
those guys were legit 600, 700 pounds, and that's legit 600, 700 pounds falling down on you.
like
You know, you
I
can't
can't
face
think. I
that.
can't think how tall Haystacks was, but they have like a height meter, like a picture I saw of all the big guys. Haystacks on that. He was one of the big guys, like big and big. Like again, how do you fake a man that big falling on you and not breaking your neck in 15 places? Like
No,
how?
exactly. Like, no, think about like when King Mabel crushed the Undertaker's orbital, that bone in your
Orbital
leg.
bone, yeah.
Uh,
He was like 6'7", that guy. Like
mm-hmm.
6'7", 6'6", about 450 pounds, something like that. Yeah, he was big.
He
He was
really
big.
did break it because there was a thing I saw on, I think it was on YouTube, but someone did a short that Taker really didn't like Mabel. The
Yeah.
reason, did you hear the whole story that the reason why he made him part of the Ministry of
So he
Darkness?
wouldn't
He didn't
have to
want to wrestle.
wrestle him.
Yep, he didn't want
Oh
to wrestle
yeah.
him.
That's
Dude,
Yep,
crazy.
that's funny. I mean, that's one way to do it. Like, that's one way to do it.
make
That is
your enemy
crazy.
your teammate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
join.
All rise, join the Judgment Day. So I don't have to wrestle you. They're gonna be like the NWO. How do we know?
Put your
Yeah,
ones up for the tribal chief.
yeah, man.
Always the
You
one
know,
and only.
it's funny. Since I know about my family history, every time I have my grandfather, I have Pete Sanchez as another member of my family, which wrestled into the late 2000, like late 90s. And Frank Martinez, the Blue Demon. And it's funny, every time I hear the Cody Rhodes song, I always do this. Royal family.
Wrestling has only one royal family.
But I always do the chin wave and I go,
Hmm.
Everybody's like, stop doing that, Joe. Stop that. Your
Uh,
family's not royal. I'm like, my grandfather. Here we go. Fun fact about the Panther family. Pete Sanchez was Ric Flair's very first match in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, really? That is
really?
interesting.
That is my family legacy.
That's so
Pete,
cool,
San-
though. For
Pete
real.
Sanchez wrestled Ric Flair's very first match, and I don't think Flair lost because it's Flair, and maybe he lost to Pete Sanchez, but I'm gonna have to find that on the rule because there's websites now. I don't know. They just starting the internet. I don't know if you know this. Did you know there was actually websites that would keep wrestlers' records?
I think so. I think they still are. I think.
I think I
Yeah, I
find
think
that
you could
crazy.
even go and look me up and see my wins and my losses.
But wouldn't you feel kind of embarrassed if the person was kind of mean and was a negative Nancy and gave you like 2 wins and 1 loss? Like,
You know, then we would have to talk. Then I'd bring the crazy eyes out, and then we have to talk.
you kidding me?
So, Joe, you do this this podcast how often a week? Like, when are you here?
I do my podcast like I guess weekly. I do an episode. I try to pre-record my episodes, but Noelle promoted it today at this time, so I was like,
Sorry, I was late. I'm so sorry.
My Mr. Burns did this. Oh, she wants to go live. Excellent.
So you do once a week, pretty much.
Once a
And
week
you,
I'll go live and I usually go by myself because I used to have another dude, but he wanted to go solo. So this podcast Howard Finkel would say if they didn't like the referee change it, the match must continue.
right.
So I had to continue this legacy. This legacy's not me. It's about my grandfather and about talking to independent wrestlers, helping promote people like Noelle, getting her name out there.
There you go.
Noelle, if my fans want to follow you on any social media, how can they find you?
On Instagram, I'm at Noelle Summit. On Twitter or X, whatever they call it now, I'm at Noelle Summit. On Facebook, I'm at Noelle Summit. So easy to remember, just my name, and you'll go ahead and find me. And I also wanted to say, first of all, I am so sorry for being late. I guess that just means you'll have to have me back on so we can get a full interview.
Oh yes, I actually in October I'm doing Spooky Wrestling Month.
Ooh,
So
I'll do full face paint.
yes, oh my
real-
God,
you
girl, you
go.
gotta come
If you
back.
think I'm a little weird now, we can get weird later.
Oh yes, please. if you have any merch to anybody, if anybody wants to pick anything up of yours.
So I do not have a pro wrestling tees yet. I'm working on getting t-shirts, but I have masks. I have masks and 8x10s. You can catch those you can catch those at whatever show I'm at. And this weekend it'll be Heartland Championship Wrestling, April 20th, at the Osage Center in Kansas. So if you wanna get a mask or you wanna get an 8x10, show up.
There you go.
Yeah, I love this podcast. I've been doing it for 4 years. I've had so many different wrestlers from different countries, different states. I've actually interviewed now currently a women's champion, a champion on the TV. I always say this, if it wasn't for independent wrestling and wasn't for wrestlers, Long Island's NYWC got me into independent wrestling, and they gave me this this feeling, this burst. The first show I ever went to was a crazy hardcore show. It was NYWC Psycho Circus. If you ever get a chance to look it up, Psycho Circus is like a 3-on-3 Survivor Series.
That's right up my alley.
You would. So that's one of my questions. Like, Noelle, your character's like so crazy and cuckoo. Would you ever do a death match?
Never say never. Right place, right time. I'd get thrown into some glass. I'd throw people into glass. I'm not gonna be the one thrown into glass. I'm gonna throw people into glass. But I never say never, like in wrestling. Like never ever say never. So I'm not gonna say no, because you know what? Maybe I will do one. Like the opportunity just hasn't arisen. But I can't say I'm not intrigued by the idea of a death match.
Yeah. So yeah, this was lots of fun. I actually don't forget to come through if you want to come hang out with me on next Monday, Johnny. I will be interviewing TT the Island Girl from oh my gosh. TT the Island Girl. She wrestles in if you don't know it, OVW.
I think I know who you're talking about.
TT the Island Girl and her daughter, formerly known as the one and only Trixie the Game Master, will be on Dudes at Ringside podcast.
This popular guy.
Yes, this Monday.
You got all the people.
Popular yes, TT was a guest from back, and the person I didn't get a chance to mention that she has a belt. She was on Dudes at Ringside. She's a Dudes at Ringside alum. Billy Starks. I want to send her all the love and support. She's just won her belt.
She's killing it, and she's my age. She's like 19.
She's a young. Wow. Oh, you're really young. You're young in this. That's so cool that like the young scene. The young Johnny. We're about to put all you old people in a hole. Question, and I wanted to say something really awesome to our guest before we go.
What was that joke again? I'm sorry.
If you want to give a shout out to your podcast, like so the fans can go give you a nice subscribe.
Oh yeah, man, I appreciate it. Yes,
subscribe to this man.
Yeah, thank you. You can find us Royal Wrestling Podcast. We are everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Royal Wrestling Podcast. We do every Monday. At Mondays after Raw, so it'll be about 11:15 p.m. And then Friday after SmackDown, about 10:15 p.m. And also we do predictions for the big events.
Sounds like
and fun. Then reactions.
Maybe I'll stumble my way there.
There you go. Yeah, of course. Yeah, join us. I mean, please follow us. Like. We're new. Like I was telling Joe, we've been doing this for only about a month and a half, and it is a Spanish. We do it in Spanish for the Spanish community. The podcast. But hey, everybody's welcome.
I'll brush up on my Spanish.
There you go.
My grandma's fluent, so.
Oh yeah, where's she from?
She's from New Mexico. Her first language was actually Spanish. She didn't learn English until she was 6.
Oh,
But then
wow.
she went and she married the whitest guy she could find. So
Yeah.
it's a little washed out when it got to me. But
Love is love.
I know what Conchina Granosa means.
Oh,
She calls us that in Spanish a lot. Pigs.
what is it again?
It's Conchina Granosa. I will say, like, New Mexican Spanish is a little different just because there's a lot of influence from, like, the natives because
Yeah.
they were really big in. So it's more like Spanglish. But
Yeah.
my grandma would always say that, and that's when you knew chancla was coming.
Oh God. God rest her soul. We lost my grandma last year. I would joke with my grandma about the chancla, and I'm like, chancla coming,
Oh, la
grandma. It's
chancla.
like,
Yeah.
oh no, you don't
That
want
was dangerous.
Hmm.
I think that's what Selena Vega used last year's backlash in
Yeah,
Puerto Rico when
the
she
chancla.
was hitting Rhea with the chancla.
You
But
say
man,
chancla, every Puerto Rican's like, run away. Dude,
thanks
I
for
got my
having
mind
me,
always
man.
like that.
It means a lot to me that you're having me and giving me the opportunity to promote my podcast, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's podcast month, and the reason why I do make it this month podcast month, it's my birthday at the end of the month on April
Aw, happy
29th. I'm gonna be
birthday.
41
Oh,
years old.
happy birthday,
It's
man.
my gift to you, the podcast community, to give you guys a platform to come show yourselves off, give you more chances. This channel's the Joe Panther Variety Show is for 8 years. I did a show before Dudes at Ringside called Wrestle Talk US, and that was my first original show. I did the pre-show and post-show for Raw and SmackDown. I moved on from that, started my own thing, and then 4 years ago I started Dudes at Ringside. And ever since then, I just feel like by me doing this, it gives everybody else an opportunity to
I
jump
agree.
in. And this driver plane may be just me now, but I feel that if anybody wants to join me on an interview, just send me a message. If you want to join me on interview, if you want to come join me on Monday when I interview TT, and
I will let you know because Monday, man, I gotta do the Raw at
oh,
night. At
you
what
can't.
time?
Don't worry,
Oh,
dude. I'll
at what
find
time
another
is
date.
your?
Yeah,
And don't
I
forget
have
about
some
me.
other interviews
I'll see
coming
you in
up.
October.
You
There
could
you go.
join me. You could join me on Monday to hang
No,
out with
like,
TT.
real fun fact about me, I hate being late. Like, genuinely, like, that is a personal, and like I mixed up the time, so now I feel like I owe you a full interview, you know?
Uh, uh,
I can also we'll figure out something. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Well, I'm the type of guy that never holds grudges because you guys, as I said, pro wrestling for me feels like it's like my backbone to like everything I do.
No, I
It
agree.
doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm always touching pro wrestling.
And like one thing, like, to say to you guys, like I said, I've been going on a bunch of different podcasts recently. Like, you guys doing this helps me as much as it helps you, because it's like that one. I know at least one new person is gonna see me from this podcast, and like, in wrestling, that's a lot. So it's like, thank you guys. Like, this is awesome, and this, you guys put in a lot of time, a lot of same as me when it comes to wrestling. Like, a lot of time, a lot of money, and like, I appreciate it because, you know, like, you helping me out, you know. So again,
Yeah.
like, thank you guys for what you do. Like, I again, like, I'm so sorry I was late because, like,
No, you're fine.
I love just talking to other wrestling fans, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's awesome. So again, thank you for having me.
No
I
problem.
really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, fans. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. I'm Joe Panther the Third. Your turn.
I'm the millionaire Noelle Summit.
And your turn.
Johnny Rexfield. Thanks,
And
man.
we will catch you in the next one.